Hey everyone, welcome into the Q&A show. My name is Bob Theriot, and thank you so much for joining us here on this Wednesday afternoon. You're probably just finishing up lunch, or if you haven't, go ahead and grab a sandwich and sit down and watch me talk to my next guest, Ulrich DelaFuente. As you
Hey
can see,
guys.
thank you for joining me. He is a local business owner. And so my focus in the next few weeks, you guys, for those of you who've been watching the Q&A show for the last, almost year and a half, 2 years, I will really want to focus on the local community and highlight people that are doing good things in their businesses and just kind of bring you a different perspective of what they see because of this whole COVID-19 thing and what they can offer and how they can help you. So thank you, Uli, for joining me here. And so your name is pronounced early. Say it properly, and then tell us how you got the nickname or how you're pronouncing it now.
Yeah, sure. So full actual name is pronounced Ulrich or Ulrich.
Okay.
Um, and a couple references I use to kind of remind people either how it's pronounced or where that name comes from, aside from the actual story, which is my grandfather. I always tell people, hey, have you ever seen Knight's Tale? Heath Ledger was Ulrich von Liechtenstein, or the drummer from Metallica, Lars Ulrich.
There
So,
you go.
but my grandfather had all daughters, so in order to pass on his name, I was the first grandson. So to pass his name on for one more generation, they gave me his first name, and everybody already had that nickname for him as Uli. So I just inherited the entire name, nickname, and everything.
Well, that's cool. Uli.
Yeah, I like it. It's unique.
Yeah. So were you born and raised in El Paso?
Born and raised, yes.
Where'd you go to school?
So high school, I was a Coronado T-Bird, played tennis for them, and then I got recruited to a small Division three Christian school in East Texas for college. I went to Laterno University
Mm-hmm.
and played some tennis and got my computer information systems degree.
Very cool. So how'd you end up in the insurance business?
That's a good story, man. So coming out of college, I guess I wasn't the most engaged when it came to maybe looking at getting other certifications along with all of the computer business and technological knowledge I was gaining in college.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went into interviews for certain positions in that field, the biggest things I got was obviously this is 2011, by the way, so not too long ago. Um, I was being told, hey, you don't have the experience that we're looking for, and of course every employer that's looking for high level people, they want someone that with experience in the job, even though they knew I was already coming out of college. But the other thing that I was getting a lot was these certifications that I guess I could have gotten when I was in college or shortly out of it. And so I quickly, I'm slightly impatient, so I quickly got discouraged with that process at the time. And my dad said, well, just try something that you might enjoy, for the time being. And actually, I got into sales at T-Mobile not long after I came out of college. So as you can see, it was like a quick process for me. But the
Mm-hmm.
same day that I got accepted to that job, I got a recruiting email actually from Farmers Insurance. And that's kind of where the whole job exploration came. I did an interview with them. I researched other carriers and found that maybe running my own business and helping people that way might be the way to go. And ultimately, of course, I made my decision to be with Farmers Insurance, and I was with them from 2011 till about the end of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beginning of 2019 is when I made a transition to open up an agency that's an independent brokerage agency now with my father, Ed DelaFuente.
And when did you guys open?
So we officially started operating under the agency together February of 2019, but the contracts and documents where everything was taken care of in
Right.
January. And so we've been going full force for about 17, 18 months, somewhere around there.
So you're fairly new, which is
In
that's pretty
this, in this, like in this agency, yes.
right.
In the industry, about 9 years of industry experience now.
Right. And where's your office located? Because I know I saw something you operate not just in El Paso, you operate in other states as well, or you can sell in other states.
That's correct. So
Okay.
our office is located on the west side of El Paso. We're at 75 98 North Mesa Street. It's the Chase Bank building across the street from the Chick-fil-A and the Walmart, far west side. We're on the
Okay.
second floor in Suite 203. But our agency is licensed to operate in all of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and Oklahoma. And right now we have active clients in all of those states right now.
And how do you reach those clients in other states?
So we don't do any active marketing other than referral business. Actually, for at least Texas and New Mexico, that was a no-brainer, right? We're located in Texas, so we need to be licensed in Texas. And New Mexico is literally 20, 30 minutes away. And we get quite a bit of referrals for business out in New Mexico. So by default, we started with those two states. But I had a number of business partners and friends from school that moved to Arizona, started businesses and working out there. So that's where the referrals came. And as far as the process, it's just as easy as applying for a non-residence license in that state and getting set up with the carriers there.
Right.
And then as far as Oklahoma went, we actually had a producer for a while that worked with our agency that lived over there. So for us to help, to work with them and for them to work through us, we needed to be licensed there so that they could operate through us to sell insurance there. And so other than that, the business that comes from those connections, there's a lot of word of mouth, either from existing clients or friends and family.
Well, that's great though. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people in this day and age forget about, it's who you know, like, and trust. And the referral business is still very, very important, even with all the digital marketing and things that we can do. You got to keep those relationships tight.
That's exactly it. We honestly look at every one of our current clients as an opportunity to have hundreds of clients come out from that one relationship. And
Right.
so, now, in a day and age, back in the day, right, companies used to be able to just market and they didn't really care about the recurring sale or that ongoing relationship with the clients. It was all about new sales.
Just
And even though
transactional. Yeah.
exactly. And so even though new sales are definitely important to any operating company, it's what are you doing for those clients that have already chosen to do business with you, trust you, like you? What are you doing to keep them coming, to keep referring others? And
So
that's what we
how do you do that? That was my next
so
question. So
our
how do you
number
do that?
one thing is just, making that transaction that we have with them, make them feel more like this is an ongoing relationship. We hope that it's a lifelong relationship. That's not always the case, but we definitely try to make them feel like they are family. So, even though at the time that you're closing on your home, you need insurance to close on your home, that is a transaction per se. We need to have a relationship because, well, something happens months down the road and that policy is still held by our agency. We need to know who we're dealing with so that they feel comfortable enough to call us for advice on the situation rather than just bypassing us, calling the carrier and making a claim. We want to make sure that they understand that we're treating them just like they would family so that they can trust us and call us like family for whenever they need us or have any questions. So our number one thing is that, along with communication. Everybody says customer service, but what is customer service? It's different for everybody. So for us, our number one thing is communication. I think the biggest gripe we see from prospective clients, looking to shop with us, is that their biggest complaint is that their current provider agency that they're dealing with, was good at the beginning, but then maybe communication is now dropping off, and so it takes longer to get things done. No response at all. They have to follow up a bunch on their own inquiries.
Mm-hmm.
And so we make that a focus of ours, no matter how small or how big we get. We want to make sure that it's consistent throughout the life of our agency and however long we operate here in El Paso.
And I'm assuming that a lot of your clients have your personal phone number, can pick up the phone and call you if they have an issue.
Yes, I would say yes, but luckily, we developed that relationship to where it's well respected. And no, not every client has my number. Of course, some of them are just going to have it by default. They're friends and
Right.
family.
Right.
And some of them, it's just one of those things where, if those boundaries are created, respected, and drawn out from the very beginning, then yeah, they might want, to have that a little bit extra personal touch. Even though when they call my office, they need to speak with me, we can always schedule a time to talk. I never, just hand things off because there are those clients that are just going to be like, well, I want to talk to the guy who, sold me. So same thing when I have other team members help us with certain clients, they build that relationship and they only want to talk to them. And so we try to keep that. We try to, keep that consistent throughout the agency.
Well, that's good. So, what are some of the questions that you're getting right now because of COVID-19 and everything that's going on? Because you do offer, I mean, you work with a lot of businesses. So, are they
Yes.
having to change things up, or how is it working? What are you seeing?
Well, let's start with your first question. The biggest question I get, and I'm still getting it now, but not nearly as much now that certain clients of ours or even prospects are being better educated, is that, in short, there are very, very few, if any, policies that will cover for loss of business income due
Mhm.
to a shutdown that was mandated by not just the government but the local municipalities due to a well, in this case, it would be a pandemic or a virus.
Right.
So, and the reason for that is if we look at it from an industry's perspective, because everybody's like, well, that's what insurance is for. My business is closed, we have loss of income. And although there are some policies that offer that type of coverage, it specifically excludes something like this because if we think about it, well, I'm gonna tell you, most coverages on policies that are offered are usually already calculated to the point where the insurance carrier knows what they could potentially expect and how to charge for that risk. Now, most of those types of losses are either two things, right? They're either monetarily based, so that's how they know how much sales the current business is doing, so they know the potential risk, or they know where the business is located, so they know, for example, how often hailstorms hit in that area, or hurricanes, or floods, and so they're able to calculate those risks. When you talk about a pandemic, how do you calculate that risk, especially when it's hitting the whole world at the same time?
Right.
So, if we hypothetically assume that all insurance carriers had to cover these types of losses, there's right now about 800 to 850 billion dollars of surplus money across all insurance carriers for the United States, period. The average monthly loss of business income that all businesses endure on a monthly basis is close to 450 billion. So after about 2 months of covering, loss of income, the insurance industry would go bankrupt.
Right.
So that is exactly why that coverage is not going to be something that you're going to see on every policy. Probably less than 1% of policies offer it. And it's more because of the fact that those policies are probably so loosely worded that an attorney could poke a hole through it and have the insurance carrier actually cover.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, so right now, what is your primary product that you're seeing that you're getting a lot of inquiries about?
So we work with a lot of loan officers. So on a personal line side, we do a lot of homeowners and auto insurance. So we help the public community with that a lot. We work with a lot of those individuals that are refinancing or buying new homes.
Hmm.
And so a lot of our marketing on that end of the spectrum, which we would just compartmentalize as personal lines. So anything personal lines, life insurance, home, auto, or anything else that is not particularly tied to a business, um, is mainly geared towards our relationships with loan officers, real estate, or home builders. And so that's kind of our network. That's where a lot of those referrals come from, aside from our existing clients. We don't really outwardly market to the general public directly because let's just face it, if I called you or if someone called you at 6 p.m. tonight, wanted to talk to you about your auto insurance, you're probably going to hang up on them.
Right.
You're probably not going to want to talk unless they somehow catch your attention. But even then, it's really difficult. So we don't outwardly market to personal lines to shop auto or home like I probably used to when I first started in the insurance industry. But the other
What did you do when you first started? Were you going to a lot of networking groups? Were you actually running traditional marketing? What were you doing?
so I definitely tried to do as much groups as possible. I wasn't as educated on everything that was available at the time, and this was only a short 9 years ago.
Right.
So definitely friends and family. That's the standard. Then try to get me into other places where I can connect. I was and still am deeply involved with the El Paso Tennis Club here locally.
Hmm.
I'm on their board of directors. But it wasn't until 2016 that I encountered BNI, so Business Networking
Hmm.
International. That's probably my main focus when it comes to networking groups as far as time, effort, and money put in, just simply because of the relationships we've built through that. But if I shifted to the business insurance side, that's where we actually do cold calling. We cold call to
Right.
businesses during normal business hours and try to build relationships, through those calls to get an opportunity to work their insurance.
Right. And so what's happening with the BNI right now? Is it on hold? Or are they using like Zoom to have meetings still?
That's a good question.
Mhm.
Yes, we're not on hold. We are full force. Uh, individuals are still growing their businesses now, and yes, we are meeting only through Zoom right now. So we're
Right.
obviously following all of the local precautions and mandates, but we are still able to at least see each other like you and I are right now,
Right.
and be in an effective, networking meeting that's still it has guidelines that keep us accountable to help one another to bring visitors. If anything, actually, that was going to be my next goal on this show, was to hopefully have you, join us on one of our meetings and just see what it's all about, man. I don't know if you've ever been a part of one of those meetings.
You know, I've gone to them back again back in the day, but I never really joined one. The closest I got to, I was on the Hispanic Chamber,
Okay.
and yeah, I was an ambassador there. I did that for a year. And when you join, you know, my thing is you're going to have a commitment. You got to do it. And so it does take a lot of work to go out to those, especially when you're an ambassador and do all those ribbon cuttings and all that. It's a lot
Yeah.
of work. So, but you know, you get into it what you put into it, or you get out of it what you put into it, right? So, yeah, definitely always looking for things. I was just curious to see how that's working because I am so involved with digital marketing and as you can see what you're on the show now and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I am curious about how that was working right now. I'm sure a lot of people are because there's a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I can't ever see a time where businesses are going to be able to survive without actually meeting people. I mean, I know we have the technology, but it is a lot different when you're face to face with someone, right? I don't think
Yes.
that's ever going to be removed, regardless of what happens in the near future, because this COVID thing isn't going away. I think 2020 is pretty much it's going to stay the same. So we've got to do things like this. You've got to keep doing the
Yeah.
Zoom. Uh,
And might as well, build new habits, develop new skills during
yes,
this time, because they'll be applicable even when COVID is gone. You know.
right,
So,
right. So it's going to be a melding of the two, right? Of the face to face interaction and the digital part of it. That's what I
definitely.
see. And you know, a lot of business. I saw Twitter actually told their whole staff that they never have to come back to the offices again. And so you're going to see a lot of big companies. This is opening a lot of eyes to efficiency of what can actually be done remotely with your staff. But
Yep.
at the same time, you know, humans are they like the interaction. So I don't know how you would ever get away from that completely, at least 100%.
Well, I'll tell you a very interesting story. It's good that you bring that up. We have a very good friend of mine, and he's also a producer here in our agency. And so, in short, what that means is a producer is he sells insurance policies on behalf of our agency.
Mm-hmm.
But our relationship with him is with the expectation and the goal that he will be able to take his portion of the clients that he's sold and open up his own agency. He's not located here in El Paso. He's actually in East Texas, where we went to college. So out in Laterno, Longview, Texas, is where he operates, and
You
that's
froze
where.
there. You froze for like 30 seconds. So can you repeat yourself real quick? You said
Yeah, yeah,
so. I'm assuming you said something like he's going to be able to take his book of business with him. I don't know if
yes, correct.
okay.
Yeah, so he'll be able to take his book of business with him, and he operates in Longview, Texas. So he's not even here in El Paso, and because of that relationship, aside from constant video calls and screen recordings and things like that to help train him on certain systems, aside from the basics of just person to person interaction with how to transact and discuss insurance policies, the bigger thing is, how do I do things in the system? How do I get this policy? How do I move these things? How do I even pull this up in the system? So we have a video library that is a growing video library of instructions. It's almost like a what's it called? Standard operating procedures in our agency that are being recorded daily in a library of videos that any one of our staff, should they be local or remote, can pull from and reference to make it easy for them to move forward with any processes in the agency, rather than relying on one or another individual personally to show them. They have that there and they can reference it at any time. So it's kind of
Training
like,
videos. Training videos.
Yep.
That's awesome.
It's avoiding having to, basically retrain the same thing over and over.
Right.
If they need, a review of it over and over, that's fine. You have the video there, you can reference it.
And how do you create those videos? Do you create them, or what
For the most
platform are you
part,
using?
so right now I use a low cost. It's called Screencast-O-Matic because a lot of it is on the
Mhm.
screen. It's not
Right.
really like in person or hands-on type stuff. Because most of the questions we're going to have, aside from the actual intangible type things like the discussions we have and how to go about that, is
Hmm.
how do I do something in the system? How do I quote somebody? How do I make a change to an existing policy? And so we use a screen recording software that allows us to narrate, and it shows where the mouse goes and things like that. And so it allows us to basically instruct whoever's watching the video on what to do and how to do it.
That's awesome. Those are good standard operating procedures, right? SOPs to have in
Mm-hmm.
your business, right? I think a lot of small businesses don't think that far into the future. And, that's why a lot of people will go into franchises, right? Because they have those standing operating procedures. But you as a local business owner can implement those type of things with simple videos. And it sounds simple, but it's about executing. So if you
Yeah.
execute, you plan that out, you hand it over to your new hire or whatever, your new producer, makes things a lot easier. I think that's a good takeaway for people that are operating businesses locally, which you just told them right now. That's something that they should use and utilize.
Mm-hmm.
I did have another question really in regards to, and I've always been curious about this. We talked about how you're using your referral, your sphere of influence, your BNIs. How do you get over, or does it even affect you in regards to your business when you see these large corporations, the big ones, the Allstates, the State Farms, the Farmers, because you were part of Farmers.
Mm-hmm.
How do you overcome that? Because there's some people that are just drawn to it because they're indoctrinated with the branding is so in your face everywhere because they have huge,
Of
deep
course.
pockets. So as a local business person, there's going to be some people that don't even give you a shot, right? Because they're just, again, they've been branded so well. How do you overcome that? What do you do?
Well, the biggest thing that I've realized in my short, 9 years in this industry is that was a much bigger issue, and it probably still is a sizable issue for some
Hmm.
today, but it was a much bigger issue for me when I first started versus now. And I don't know if I'm going to say partially, it definitely is because, especially at least here locally, are understanding more that the company behind a product is definitely important to a point. Because, yeah, when you need them, you're going to need to rely on that company. And if you've already had an experience or that, Farmers, State Farm, the big three are out there and they're going to be helpful to a point, how can you trust not just a local representative, but regional or smaller national carriers that no one's ever even heard of?
Right.
And so sometimes in those conversations we have with clients, our biggest thing that makes them start wondering about the relationship they have with their agent versus the actual carrier that they're indoctrinated with on those products is, you know, the biggest statement we use is, well, the reason why you probably don't see this particular company, so it just depends on the company, but the reason why you don't see them too often on TV is because they prefer to spend their marketing dollars on the agents that represent them,
Hmm.
as well as the products themselves and the processes and the individuals who you will have contact with for when you need them in the claim situation. Because really, let's think about it. If you never had to make an insurance claim, which is great, also makes you wonder what you spent all that money on insurance for, right? But more importantly, if you never have an insurance claim, then it's really just transactional. I'm just paying money to a company, and should something happen, they'll be here to take care of me. When you
Right.
really find out how good at least the carrier is when you have a claim. How do they take care of me? How does that
Right.
process? Was my agent helpful in that process? That's another big one. A lot of agents that we run into that are currently, taking care of clients, one of their biggest gripes is, aside from the communication thing, which still ties into the communication thing, is when I had a claim, I was given a 1-800 number and that was it. I was basically dealing with someone else. And although that technically should, for the most part, be the process anyways, because we're not claims adjusters, we're not employees of the carriers themselves to handle those processes. We do offer assistance to our clients. We do offer advice, and we try to make them feel like they're not just once again, another number to us, and that they have assistance should they ever need it in their transactions directly with the carrier. So we always tell our clients, call us first. Call us before you make a claim so we can advise you, we can direct you.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't really know what the next step is, let us help you. Let us talk to you first before any of that process starts. And we usually find that the relationship between them, us, and the carrier that they're working with is much better because they have that advice. So how to overcome the big company thing is really, well, let's talk about first, how good is your relationship with your agent? And then also in the past, how has your claims experience been with the current carrier? Was it good? Was it bad? And if it was not that great, then does the company name really matter that much? Mm-hmm. It's really going to matter more, how you can be properly covered.
Right. The quality of the product and the service that you get.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's awesome. So can you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, where your office is at one more time? If you have a website right now,
yeah.
to let everybody know how to get a hold of you.
Okay. So location, we're on the west side of town, 7598 North Mesa Street, Suite 203, El Paso, Texas, 79912. Our phone number to our office is 915-444-2700. You can also email me directly at the letter U, my last name, DelaFuente, at TWFG. That's T as in Tom, W, F as in Frank, G as in George.com. You can also look us up on Facebook, our Facebook page, TWFG, DelaFuente Insurance Services, or you can also find our website, www.twfg.com/D as in dog, I as in igloo, S as in Sam.
And if you send all that to me, Uli, we'll make sure that we put that in show notes for the website, okay, and we'll put it below the video. And so thank you so much for coming on. I think we got to introduce you to maybe a whole new audience of people that didn't know you were out there. So thanks for coming on. And
I appreciate it, Bob.
Like I said, you're welcome. And we're going to keep promoting this. So Uli, if you know of anybody who wants to come on here, shoot me a message. Like I said, I really want to focus on the local. There's a lot of people, I have friends from all over the country that I could reach out to. But I really think at this time, we need to help each other out. And so that's my goal right now, to try to promote and try to just bring awareness to local businesses. And so thank you for coming on here. I think people now have a little bit better idea. Real quick, one more time. So you do homeowners, automotive, right? What else?
Life insurance.
Life, okay.
Business, any type of business products you can think of. We do some health insurance, but we also connect with some partners on that. And also, me specifically in this agency, we help individuals with Medicare Advantage plan products as well.
So you're a full service insurance agency. So anybody out there looking, please hit Uli up and we will put those in show notes, you guys. So if you've gotten this far in the interview, do me a favor, hashtag, comment below, hit that heart button, hit that like button so that we can try to reach as many people as we can. And leave a comment below. Did you like this interview? And if you have a suggestion of somebody you want me to interview, tag them in the post below. Again, thank you so much, Uli, for coming on. I wish you nothing but success. If you ever need anything, please reach out to me. But I'm sure we're going to be talking again very, very soon.
Definitely, Bob. Looking forward to it, man.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you guys for joining us here on the Q&A show. My name is Bob Theriot, and you guys take care of one another and have a good week. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, I need to reboot everything.